Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to this session on AILET 2024. So just 30 days left from now onwards. In fact, back-to-back exams, the two most critical exams are going to get over by 10th of December. Hopefully, so if you look at the pattern of the examination, especially before we go ahead and start, if you look at last three exams of AILT, there have been changes all across actually. So I'm sure you are aware. Every time you see the paper, there was a surprise element. Some changes were announced beforehand. Some was definitely a surprise. So today with me, I have again GP sir, Gautam Puri sir, and Siddharth Mehta sir. So we'll be talking about the strategy for the next 30 days. We covered CLAT last time. I'm sure you attended the session and you are working as we spoke about. जैसे हमने बात किया था, जो strategies की हमने बात की थी, आप उसको follow कर रहे हो. You are watching the videos regularly. You are attending the sessions regularly. So I'm sure this is definitely going to help you out. Today's session is definitely going to focus on AILT for National Law University Delhi. While I do understand a lot of students are very apprehensive when it comes to AILT, लोग अप्लाई नहीं करना चाहते, लोगों को लगता है कि सीटें बहुत कम हैं, तो कंपटीशन बहुत ज़्यादा है. 15,000 students take the exam every year for just 110 seats. But you need to understand CLAT is not a very different story. If we go back to all NLUs conducting their own examination, then it will become a similar story because you see everything combined together. At the end of the day, it is about 100, to 200 odd seats in every national law university. So this should not be the reason why you should not be applying for the examination. And thankfully, we have another 4 days left. The last date for NLU Delhi is 13th of November. In fact, tomorrow is the last date for CLAT 2024. They extended it by week. So just in case, those who are right now attending the session, अगर by chance अभी तक form नहीं भरा है, तो don't wait. The first thing you should do after the session is to complete both the applications and submit them. Good evening, GP. Good evening, Siddharth. And so we are going to talk about AILT. I'm sure students have questions. We'll definitely cover that. Allow me to quickly set the agenda for the session today, actually, how we are going to move ahead in the next 30 minutes. So, of course, we'll look at what's the difference between two. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult to find the differences except for a couple of few aspects. What can we expect from the paper this year? How it is going to be done in within the sections? Are we expecting any changes? Specifically, we'll be talking about the general knowledge as a subject because that's 30 questions out here in this paper. Very equal, a very important component, no doubt, last 30 days. And we'll focus on the question answer from the students. I think that is going to be very, very important. So we'll move ahead and we'll talk to the experts. क्या expectation है? What's the difference between the two? So, GP, what do you think if we talk about CLAT और IELTS में strategy में क्या बहुत ज़्यादा changes करनी चाहिए बच्चों को?
Frankly, I would say people should find IELTS to be easier because the biggest bugbear for most of the student maths or DI is missing from here. So कोई strategy में change नहीं है. If you look at the two papers effective last year, I think they have become the same. Both of them have all the sections same. When I say all the sections, obviously the number of sections is not the same, but what comes inside the section is exactly the same. So जब पेपर के अंदर सेम चीज आती है, the time limit is 2 hours for both of them. Okay,
Yes.
and the number of questions is 150 and 120, na?
Yeah, CLAT is 120 and AILT is 150.
Yeah. But that 120 also include maths, which is a bugbear for most of the students. While IELTS में वो नहीं है, so that's fine. So I would say a larger number of students are likely to be comfortable with the IELTS as compared to CLAT, purely because of mathematics not being there or DI not being there.
Yeah. GP, what's your Siddharth? What's your take over here as far as the three sections are there actually in the paper? जिसमें हमें पता है कि logical reasoning में clarity nahi hai whether they'll ask the legal question, or even there'll be a passage which is very much related to legal as such.
See, if you go by the last year paper, and we are, I mean, we cannot say that paper pattern will be similar because they have changed it every year. But
Yeah.
there are quite a few things which are in favor of the students as far as AILET exam is concerned. One is, of course, maths, that has been covered. The second is number of passages. The number of passages that they have to read in AILET is slightly less than in CLAT because they combined the English and logical reasoning question. If they continue doing it the way they did it in the last year. So that is another good thing in favor of the students. The third thing is that, which is a difference, is in logical reasoning section of AILET, they may expect questions from analytical reasoning, right? And most of these students might not have practiced that analytical reasoning, considering that majority of our time goes into the preparation for the CLAT exam. तो वो एक थोड़ा सा analytical reasoning वाला part है, जिसको लॉजिकल रीजनिंग में मेरे ख्याल से इफ नॉट ऑल द टॉपिक्स थोड़ा बेसिक्स कवर कर लेने चाहिए, क्योंकि बहुत एडवांस लेवल के क्वेश्चंस नहीं आते एंड दे आर स्कोरिंग आल्सो.
Yeah, so in fact, I think analytical reasoning, most of the students would be definitely more comfortable. But one thing I personally believe, जो ये time change किया है, GP spoke about कि 120 मिनट जो हुआ है from 90 minutes earlier, I think that will definitely have an impact. If you look at last 3 years cutoff, on an average, it has been in 70s. So what's your take over here? लगता है कि cutoff ऊपर जाएगा, वहीं पे रह जाएगा, because 30 minutes बढ़ा दिए.
देखो, ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग, अगर पेपर का पैटर्न लास्ट ईयर जैसा ही रहा, स्टैंडर्ड वैसा ही रहा, तो आई डोंट थिंक कि बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ेगा, या 4-5 नंबर का फर्क डेफिनेटली यू कैन थिंक ऑफ कि उतना पड़ सकता है. बिकॉज मैथ्स नहीं है तो वैसे ही टाइम सेव हो जाता था, मतलब इस पेपर में ओवरऑल. सो आई थिंक इफ एवरीथिंग रिमेन सेम, देन +5 अकॉर्डिंग टू मी कुड बी +5 +6 7, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए डिफरेंस.
Okay. But 30 minutes is a good enough increase. तो मतलब ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है कि
No,
बहुत ज्यादा, तो उसके हिसाब से
मेरे को
students
ऐसा इसलिए लग रहा है बिकॉज दो चीजें होती है. वंस जैसे हमने क्लैट के सेशन के समय भी आई थिंक वी कवर्ड दैट पॉइंट. टाइम अगर इंक्रीज होता है तो दैट डजंट मीन कि प्रोपोर्शनेटली कट ऑफ भी उतना इंक्रीज हो, बिकॉज पीपल टेंड टू वेस्ट देयर टाइम दैट मच मोर. ऑलराइट, द अदर थिंग इज दैट एनीवेज जो टॉप का क्राउड होगा, द वन हु आर क्लियरिंग द AILET एग्जाम, से टॉप 300 रैंक्स, they might have anyways performed to their close to optimum level. So how much more they can improve in next 30 minutes, that's another thing. I mean, I can't see that they will increase by 15 or 17 marks, the top 300 rank. They would have anyways performed at the level which is near to the optimum level of those 300 ranks. So वो एक और चीज है मेरे हिसाब से. But GP might have different take on this.
नहीं, आई डोंट थिंक सो. इसमें कोई मेरे को कोई बहुत फर्क नहीं दिख रहा. एंड सिद्धार्थ, आई एम बाय एंड लार्ज इन एग्रीमेंट विद व्हाट यू हैव सेड. Just because you have extra time, in fact, we have usually seen that you are not able to get the right question, right answer just by spending extra time. So extra time is meaningless. But the only difference which will happen is, till last year you were rushing through the paper. Now you don't have to rush through the paper. That's the difference. So if I look at this paper now, 30 questions of GK will take you maybe about 10 minutes on the higher side. So out of 120 minutes, 110 minutes are left for 120 questions, which is roughly about 1 minute per question. So which is what even CLAT gives you by and large. Okay, by and large, if you look at the paper, that is what is there. So I don't see a significant uptick in the number of attempts, in the number of correct answers. क्योंकि extra time लगाने का मतलब ये होता है, you will end up wasting time, you will end up getting confused, and most of the time, extra time means you will end up getting the wrong answer. Okay? So frankly, I would completely concur with you. Maybe 5-6 marks is what you could look at as an increase in the cutoffs.
In fact, if you look at last 3 papers, so if I look at the one which was conducted earlier in 2022, they brought that change कि हम 3 sections में आ रहे हैं, legal based questions पूछेंगे. Okay, that was unexpected because they announced it earlier. More or less they stick to that actually. जो last year change किया उन्होंने, जो 2023 का जो paper हुआ, that was a big surprise. But I think I'll definitely have the experts take over here. But I think if they stick to that, when we are talking about what we can expect, if they stick to that what they did last year, I think still it would be more comfortable. मुझे लगता है that really helped क्योंकि रीडिंग एक्सरसाइज में आपका टाइम बचता होगा क्योंकि अगर सेम पैसेज के बेसिस पे यू हैव योर रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन एज वेल एज your critical reasoning based questions, the logical reasoning based questions, the bifurcation they did 5 plus 7 kind of actually with those passages. Siddharth, what do you think? वो pattern अगर same रहा तो that would really
Definitely.
help the students, or they should definitely, given your expertise, they should expect some surprises. और अगर surprise expect करना है तो क्या challenge हो सकता है और क्या करना चाहिए students को next 30 days में?
See, one thing is that this exam is not at all a standardized exam wherein we can predict that this will happen. They can do anything. So, see, if they stick to last year, then as I said, the task was anyways easy because they have to read less number of passages. I don't see a cutoff increasing by more than 5-7 marks. But if they change the pattern, it all depends on the people or the students who handle the surprise element well and who simply take whatever comes their way, one question at a time or one passage at a time, and do not get stuck anywhere. They will do well in the exam. Nobody can predict what they are going to do. They may perhaps give mixture of the past 3-year pattern and come out with something absolutely new. So I don't think it will be. I can say that this could be the pattern. But yeah, to handle the surprise, they need, or the student or any aspirant needs to take one passage at a time, और ये समझने की बात है कि वो surprise सबके लिए रहेगा. It's a cliche. We speak it every time that whatever happens, it's the same for everybody. Those who handle it well, they will perform better than the others.
या इनफैक्ट मतलब ऑब्वियसली एंड प्लस एक चीज और है ना कि मतलब जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो रेगुलरली मॉक्स लिख रहे हैं उन्होंने उस पैटर्न को फॉलो किया है, दे आर मोर कंफर्टेबल. बट एज यू सेड एंड व्हाट वी हैव एक्सपीरियंस सो फार, इफ वी लुक एट द एंटायर एएलईटी स्टोरी, आई थिंक देयर इज नो ईयर वेयर वी कैन से कुछ एलिमेंट ऑफ सरप्राइज नहीं रहा है. कुछ ना कुछ तो हर बार हुआ है, चाहे वो मिक्सअप करके किया, नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, पेपर में कहीं ना कहीं सरप्राइज तो है. सो आई थिंक स्टूडेंट्स को इस चीज का ध्यान में रखना बहुत जरूरी होगा. एवरी स्टूडेंट मस्ट रिमेंबर दिस, दैट व्हेन यू ओपन द पेपर, ब्रेस yourself to have at least some element of surprise. तो वो झटका नहीं लगना चाहिए, पहले से मेंटालिटी वो होनी चाहिए, पहले से वो थॉट प्रोसेस होना चाहिए कि कुछ ना कुछ है, बिकॉज दिस इज अ पेपर बाय एनएलयू दिल्ली. तो वो आज तक रिकॉर्ड रहा है, पिछले 16 सालों में कुछ ना कुछ चेंज मिला है हमें, तो दैट विल डेफिनेटली विल बी कमिंग अक्रॉस एक्चुअली. सो वी सी दैट एवरी ईयर एज एक्सपेक्टेड. वी हैव गेटिंग द क्वेश्चंस. सो आई थिंक वन question I would like to take, but I would still prefer the way GP answered, but ठीक है, मतलब last time जो उन्होंने बात की थी CLAT के समय, but I think that let us take this question. So does our mock score define our chances to get into NLU Delhi or other NLU?
यार ये क्या कर सकते हैं यार? This is the question. Because mock scores are meaningless. You will not get any college based on your mock scores. Mocks, TDCs are nothing but papers to help you prepare. These are learning tools. So please इसके पीछे बेस पे कुछ मत डिसाइड करो. You have done whatever you have done. Now you have to start. You are in the last lap, and then on third and 10th take the papers, and उसके स्कोर के बेस पे जो होगा यार. I'm actually surprised that this question has come. The mock score define your chance. And we can give you ample examples of students who did very well in mocks, but lost their nerve on the day of the paper. And there are students who are doing average or below average, and on the day of the paper, they were able to handle the surprise well and did very well in the paper. So it is a function of how you handle that particular day. What is your situation on that day? Are you able to handle the surprise factor or not? And please remember, as what the thing which Siddharth and Amit have said, IELET has a habit of making some changes every year. What that change will be, हमें नहीं मालूम है. And if someone is telling you what they know what that change is going to be, then वो तो झूठ तो बोल ही रहा है. but हमें नहीं मालूम है क्या change है, and you have to deal with that surprise.
So only thing which they have clearly mentioned this time is that they are not disrupting the section-wise distribution. They are keeping it same. So chances are only so there could be multiple possibilities, but chances are कि शायद वो last year को retain करें या जो 2022 वाला paper था उस तरीके से जाएं when this was change was introduced. Two possible alternatives are definitely there, but हो सकता है the number of passages, the number of questions might vary. किसी passage में English के ज़्यादा question, there are a lot of possibilities. So as GP said, I think you should brace for that. Mentally prepared रहो. Mock score से कुछ define नहीं होने वाला है. This is a T20 game. How you handle your nerve in those 2 hours, that is something which is going to define. And वैसे भी cricket season चल रहा है. You learn a lot from there. I'm sure each one of you are enjoying that as well. अभी हमारी story बहुत अच्छी चल रही है तो सबको अच्छा लग रहा है. So hopefully that continues and you carry that forward. So I think scores, a lot of you are asking what is a safe score, what should be the safest score. I think you should not worry about safe score or any score at this point of time, because you can't say for sure what kind of paper it will be, and what you do in those 2 hours, that score will determine what is a safe score or not. Ultimately, if you ask me, the safest answer to give would be 120 में 120 लिया, उससे ज़्यादा safe कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. आई थिंक उससे बेटर कुछ नहीं हो सकता, उससे सेफ कुछ नहीं हो सकता, बट यू डू अंडरस्टैंड कि वो पॉसिबल नहीं है. दैट्स नॉट द वे हाउ यू राइट द एंट्रेंसेस. यू आर नॉट अपियरिंग फॉर योर बोर्ड एग्जामिनेशन. क्वाइट क्रिटिकल ओवर हियर इज टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जो जीके का सेक्शन है, दैट इज वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल इफ यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. GK will have those 30 questions, but one thing which most of the students neglect, they worry a lot about the static GK part. Yes, they do have questions, some questions coming from the static GK part. Not a very large number. Like if you look at last year, if you look at last to last paper 2022, some 5 to 7 questions are there. But if you closely analyze, and I'm sure each one of you have done that by now, the static GK, the so-called static GK questions are basically through the current context. वो रैंडम नहीं उठाए गए हैं कि रैंडमली उठा करके पूछ दिया क्वेश्चन, कुछ ना कुछ करंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट होता है. And this we observed before the CLAT pattern got changed in 2019, 18, 17. We saw that happening even with CLAT paper. Today, if you look at the entrances, especially CLAT and AILET, this is what happens. Context is there. Now, CLAT is event based. NLU Delhi के 30 क्वेश्चन में अगर 7 क्वेश्चंस are static GK, what technically is static, I am very clear they have current context. So you have to go back, unlike event, thoda sa. And that is why, if you ask me, in this particular section, don't look out for any new resource. Don't look out for multiple resource. If you ask me, Manthan is your best source. I would not even say Manthan 2.0, but the Manthan, which is your data-driven document, weekly document, that is something which you should follow. The more that you remember, the more you recall, that is something which is going to help. And they are pretty straightforward question. बिल्कुल data पे focus करके बात करते हैं, तो बहुत ज़्यादा टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. बट आई थिंक दिस इज अ सेक्शन विच विल डेफिनेटली यू शुड स्ट्राइव टू गेट समवेयर ऑन 15-16 मार्क्स, एंड यू शुड नॉट लुक फॉरवर्ड कि मुझे 30 में 30 लाना है. 15-16-17 इज अ गुड स्कोर, एक्चुअली वेरी गुड स्कोर आई वुड से. अनप्रेडिक्टेबल है थोड़ा सा, फ्रॉम दैट रीजन स्टैटिक जीके पूछते हैं, बट फोकस पूरा करंट अफेयर्स ही रहता है. दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच यू शुड रिमेंबर. एनी अदर टेक probably GP or Siddharth you may have as far as GK section is concerned?
No, I mean, it's same as CLAT. I will not do anything different for AILET, frankly speaking. If my CLAT preparation is good, I think that this also should be easy to handle.
In fact, I would go a step further and say, शायद students will find this easier. The reason being that CLAT will pick up 6 issues. 30 questions here means at least 20 different issues, or maybe 30 issues actually. Okay.
Yes.
So in those 6 issues, you being able to come across issues which you're comfortable with, the chances are much lower as compared to 30 issues. In those 30 issues, you'll definitely find 20 issues which are up your street. So to me, students might find that it is easier to score in the GK section of AILET as compared to CLAT. But apart from that, from a preparation perspective, nothing different is to be done. You should have to keep doing the same things again and again, whether it is CLAT or AILET. preparation is going to be by and large the same.
बात कुछ नया शुरू करना चाहिए, कुछ नया करने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए, और जस्ट लाइक वी रिकमेंडेड लास्ट टाइम
I think
50 के
no.
बाद तो
I think AILET ले थोड़ा सा वो जो last 6-7 days CLAT के बाद के रहेंगे, maybe those who are not good at AR or those who have not done anything, they may devote that time to analytical reasoning. But apart from it, nothing new. I mean, just look back at the previous 3 years AILET exam papers, solve the papers, solve the mocks. That's good enough. Till CLAT, I will not suggest doing anything new. After CLAT, they may look at that portion only, the AR portion. Otherwise, nothing new.
because
I
if
would
you
suggest three papers to be taken in those 6 days. So that for speed, because when you're comparing it with CLAT, 120 questions versus 150 questions in 2 hours, a small element of speed is likely to come. Okay, so from that point of view, maybe taking 3 papers on alternate days might be useful. And as Siddharth said, the analytical reasoning is something that needs to be looked at because it is possible they may include a few questions from there.
Yeah, that could be there. So, anyways, so I think that gap of 1 weeks definitely helps actually, and after that, of course, your school focus will come into pictures. We are not going to talk about that. We spoke about that in the last session as well. So, I think those couple of areas which probably you need to cover. I think next few days, don't worry at all till 3rd of December. Just go ahead, focus on CLAT. Most of them is an overlap that will definitely help you out there actually. Is news canvas good, Tejas? As I said earlier a couple of minutes ago, don't look out for any resource. Well, it's a good resource, I'm not saying it's not good, but please understand, looking for newer resources at this point of time will only create trouble for you, will only create pressure for you. In fact, my suggestion is very clear. Don't in fact start something new as far as GK is concerned beyond 20th of November. In fact, continue reading newspaper beyond 15th for from an IELTS perspective. But I think that even can be stopped somewhere around 20th November, 25th November. Anyways, you have your CLAT paper coming up. What you should do is, we spoke last time, if you are not starting right now, you are already into the revision mode, go backwards. Current 4-5 months, the ones which are closer to the examination, they are the most important months as far as these two papers are concerned. We have already said that actually, and we have covered that in the CLAT paper, that is what analysis of these two papers is all is speaks about actually. So कुछ नया करने की कोशिश मत करो. Don't look out too many resources as far as your any of the sections is concerned. That is not required. What Siddharth and GP spoke about, AR, that can be taken up after your CLAT paper gets over. 3rd of December, analysis देखो, scores देखो, but go ahead, write. Even if you're like looking at a very good one in CLAT, but still go ahead and write. AILT Delhi today is one of the finest NLUs and should be on your radar. It should be on your list by all reasons, by all means, actually, I would say. So, in fact, any particular suggestions, any particular anything specific, GP or Siddharth, you would like to mention? We have a very limited questions, I think, over here, so we'll take those 1 or 2 questions and then we can call off the session. GP, you are muted actually, not audible.
Mute.
Okay, not really. All I would say is CLAT and IELT are very similar papers in the current structure. Yes, CLAT IELT has a habit of giving some surprise, but they have already given leaked one surprise, which is that it is not a 90-minute but a 120-minute paper now. Okay, so that definitely is there. And beyond that, I would say remember that there are two things which are positive for you from the point of view of this paper. One, or why two, maybe three things which are positive for you. One, you would have taken CLAT and you would have had experience of one paper. Second, in this paper, you are likely to find GK to be slightly easier. Third, as far as this paper is concerned, there is no maths. So these are three very big positives for the students, and they should be relaxed when they are taking the paper. And finally, between CLAT and I will take at least 2, maybe 3 papers, just to get used to the paper structure pattern based on last year's paper. Because last year it was a unique structure, and based on that structure, many people panicked and messed up their paper. Okay, and be ready for the surprise. Whatever is the surprise, as we always say, remember it is for everyone. So the person who does not lose his or her calm is the person who's going to be successful.
Yeah. सिद्धार्थ, कितने क्वेश्चन में एम करने चाहिए अटेम्प्ट? एज वी हैव अ क्वेश्चन कि कितने क्वेश्चन हमें अटेम्प्ट करने के लिए एम करना चाहिए, मतलब व्हाट इज दैट
देखो,
योर लाइक?
any exam I write, I always tell my intention is to attempt all the question. हाँ, वो नहीं आता उसको सोच समझ के छोड़ दिया, फंस गया सोच समझ के छोड़ दिया, that's a different thing. So to aim should be to attempt all the questions, 150 questions, whatever the number of question in each section I have. If I don't know, I will leave it. If I'm getting stuck, I will leave it. That's all I can say. But yeah, I think if you want to clear the cutoff, then at least 120, 125, that should be the good. That should be the attempt, because I think people will get few wrongs.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, in case there is a surprise, any further tips on remaining calm? So,
Don't worry about the outcome. जो जो सदियों पहले भगवान श्री कृष्ण बोल गए थे वो याद रखो, which is कर्म करो अपना, बाकी जो होगा देखी जाएगी. The more you think of the outcome, the more you think of the score, the more you think of the result, the more you think which NLU, the more you think it's a question of life and death, it is going to be a failure for you. Just focus on the process, कर्म करो, बाकी जो होगा ठीक ही होगा.
सबसे अच्छा जब when you open the paper, I'm sure you are surrounded by 35, 36 more students. Don't either you look at their face, you understand same story, enjoy that, or you don't look at anybody else. You just do what you want. Actually, what you are there for, actually you are there for your own performance. You are not worried about on that day what other people are doing actually. So, so another question, possibly we'll take this last one. I was scoring 90s in mocks, CL mocks. Now it suddenly went to 60s. What to do? We did cover this last time. So, matlab, dekho, first thing, are you analyzing? I'll definitely have the expert answer coming up, but I think अपने आप से नहीं drop होता है. And in fact, today, surprisingly, we were talking about this GP in the afternoon actually. So about this particular question
Yes,
from the last.
exactly.
So there is nothing which happens suddenly. Of course, there is something which you are doing which you are not realizing, certain change of strategy, could be anything which you have done abruptly, suddenly. एकदम से अचानक से score इतना नहीं गिरता है. It doesn't go and drop by 33%. So it could be समटाइम्स कॉन्फिडेंस ओवर डू कर रहे हो, या फिर आपको लग रहा है कि मतलब मुझे और स्कोर्स को बढ़ाना चाहिए. 90 फ्रॉम एन आइलेट पर्सपेक्टिव वाज डेफिनेटली अ वेरी वंडरफुल स्कोर. सो आइदर यू आर टेकिंग टू मच प्रेशर, बट प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड अपने आप से ड्रॉप नहीं होता है. इसके पीछे कारण है, यू नीड टू कंप्लीटली एनालाइज, फिगर आउट, are you doing those silly mistakes which probably you were not doing earlier? Sometimes out of excitement we are doing well, sometimes out of fear we do, as we move closer to the examination. So I think this is where, not just when we are talking about that calmness factor in the exam hall, but also while you are in the last leg of your preparation, थोड़ा स्ट्रेस रहेगा, बट आई थिंक उसको मैनेज करके चलोगे तो ये पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं आएगी. एंड आई थिंक यू कैन स्टिल मूव अप, go back to where you were performing, how you were performing earlier. Any different takes over here?
And just one thing to Aditya, just to build up on what Amit has said, that you have done something very, very different in the recent papers as compared to earlier. Maybe you have started moving faster to improve your attempt. Maybe you have become extra cautious and you are trying to go for high accuracy. Maybe that kuch bhi galat na ho. Maybe you are trying that. I don't know what is it, but somewhere your behavior during the paper has changed, and that is what is influencing your scores. Maybe you are marking the answers intuitively, and suddenly you have started becoming very, very cautious, and you want to read each and every line, and then so please check which of these things has changed. It is your behavior during those 2 hours of the paper that you need to look at.
So my examination center is too far. Is it worth to go write the IELTS, taking into consideration that the so Nafi, I'll go back from where I started. In fact, I'll answer this question. If my exam center is too far, is that my problem or something else is the problem? First look at that, because if you are really keen into getting one of the top national law universities, and believe me, if you just do away with the legacy part at this point of time, there are other factors when it comes to Bangalore, Hyderabad. Definitely, if you ask me, NLU Delhi is one of the finest institutions in the country today. On all standards, it's the number one NLU. There are a couple of factors where definitely Bangalore and Hyderabad stand out, but NLU Delhi, nevertheless, I would not say कि वो उनसे नीचे हैं किसी भी तरीके से. Please understand. दूसरी चीज, सबसे important question, तुम्हें एग्जाम सेंटर कहाँ से पता लग गया? या तो probably you are not having a center very nearby city. That is what you wanted to ask, क्योंकि अभी तो क्लैट का भी एडमिट कार्ड नहीं निकला है. So please understand.
एक्चुअली मैं यही सोच रहा था, इसको सेंटर कहाँ से पता चला इतनी जल्दी? अभी तो एडमिट कार्ड नहीं है.
अभी तो इसका फॉर्म का लास्ट डेट बचा हुआ है, 13th है. तो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, दो चीजें हैं. मैं हमेशा अपने स्टूडेंट्स को बोलता हूँ, व्हेन इट कम्स टू इंस्टीट्यूशंस, be very selective, and you cannot afford to leave NLU Delhi. Please understand. As I said earlier, whether it is 70 seats, 100 seats, 110 seats, it's about the institution. Please understand, agar if I today break CLAT and go back to NLS and NALSA doing their own exam, the story will become very similar, not very different. It's just bunching of the seats, which is not happening here. So please go ahead, write the examination. If you do well, you have prepared well, you will definitely get into an IELT is worth it. You should definitely take the exam, go to NLU Delhi. Secondly, quality of education matters, whether it is about next 3 years, 5 years. हो सकता है आपके शहर में बहुत अच्छे लॉ कॉलेजेस ना हो. देयर आर नॉट मेनी गुड कॉलेजेस इन योर सिटी. डज नॉट मीन दैट यू विल नॉट गो आउटसाइड. Go for next 5 years. You can always come back to your city. You can always come back to your city when you are looking for a job, you are looking for practicing. That's a different story. But don't compromise on the quality of the education. Whether you are from a city which is quite far off from Delhi, I think you should definitely go for it. Okay, so don't worry. Nobody, people have started asking how to check exam center. There is no exam center announced right now. What the student meant by is कि जो exam center you have to select, city you have to select while applying for the examination. So there are limited cities where IELT is conducted. So not every city, like CLAT is being conducted in 84 cities. IELT is done somewhere around 19 cities. So obviously people will have to go far, write the examination. So you have to plan accordingly. You'll get to know about your exam center exact details on 20th November. They have already announced the date. Unlike CLAT, they'll announce they release the admit card. Okay, one final question we'll take, and then I'll answer, and then we'll move on. Okay, so the question, I think, first of all, आप नाम रखा करो. ऐसे names अच्छे नहीं लगते हैं when you are creating your account. Hindi dubbed movies. Is 85 marks in general EWS category is enough for NLU Delhi? On a straight note, yes, good enough. But I think you should not worry about all this. कि ये है, उस दिन आप क्या करते हो उसके ऊपर मैटर करता है. Don't make any presumptions on any number. So before we end the session, it's already 8 o'clock. One final word of advice from our experts. GP, to begin with you.
Nothing else, just relax and well, I'll go back to the question which had come. Don't panic, don't pressurize yourself, don't worry about the outcome. Just look at the question. If you know the answer, please mark it. If you don't know the answer, leave it and move on. That's all you need to do.
So Siddharth, what is your final advice for the kids? Apart from obviously we'll be meeting them in the exam
Different
center.
for AILET. Yeah. So don't prepare anything different for AILET till 3rd of December. After that, just prepare few topics of analytical reasoning, write mocks. Of course, I think mocks you might anyways be writing. So no, I don't think we need to approach it anyways different.
Thank you so much, GP. Thank you so much, Siddharth. And before we end the session, I think we'll take the opportunity on behalf of entire Career Launcher family, CLLST family over here, to wish you and your family members a very happy and prosperous Diwali. Enjoy the festival of lights. Plus, please understand, 12th November does not mean आप पढ़ाई नहीं करोगे. Celebrate in the evening, but morning में at least 4-5 घंटे अच्छे से पढ़ लेना. These are the opportunities. I always say, ये opportunity होती है हर एक अच्छे student के पास. कैसे वो utilize करता है इस time को. Once you do this, 3rd and 10th you do well. Life is all about Diwali only. उसके बाद पूरी दिवाली है. तो फोकस करो, थोड़े दिनों का और मेहनत है. कंटिन्यू अटेंडिंग द सेशंस एज वी कंटिन्यू विद आवर क्लास स्प्रिंट सेशन. कंटिन्यू करो, अटेंड करते रहो, डेली प्रैक्टिस करो, पढ़ाई करो. दैट इज व्हाट it is all about. And I'm sure your hard work will definitely pay that success you are looking forward to. Thank you so much joining for today evening, and we'll come back with the legal updates video tomorrow, followed by GK video day after tomorrow. So continue watching the sessions and keep practicing.
Good night. All the best.